Good evening from New York. We continue to cover breaking news tonight from Denver International Airport in Colorado. Initial reports from Denver were very worrying. A plane, though safely on the ground, was escorted to Denver International Airport by F-16s. It was United Airlines Flight 663. It was en route from Washington, D.C., Reagan National Airport to Denver. F-16s reportedly scrambled to escort the plane to the ground after a passenger was subdued by a federal air marshal on board. Now, despite initial reports that the man may have tried to ignite an explosive device on board that plane, there has been no confirmation that there was any sort of explosive device on board the plane. Federal officials now telling NBC News that the man was in the bathroom on the flight. A flight attendant reportedly smelled smoke, notified a federal air marshal on board that the flight attendant smelled smoke. What happened then between the air marshal and the passenger is unclear at this point, but it may prove to be critical in terms of following up and understanding this incident. Ultimately, the pilot notified authorities on the ground of an emergency situation. The passenger was detained. The plane landed safely. Again, we have no reports of an actual explosion on board the plane or of any sort of injuries of any kind. The plane landed safely, and we are left now to determine if there was a real threat on board that plane, or if this was a misunderstanding or an empty threat with no possibility for an act of furtherance from the person who may have made it. Now, the man in custody is reported to be a diplomat from the nation of Qatar. His name is believed to be Mohammed Yaqub al-Madadi. Law enforcement authorities still, of course, trying to conclude exactly what happened. We're joined now from Washington, D.C. by NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams. Pete, thank you again. Help us with the latest here.
Well, you've done a good job of running down the facts as we know them at this hour. It may turn out, Rachel, that his only violation was smoking on the plane. Because while the initial reports were that he came out and when the air marshal said, "What were you doing?" he answered, "I was trying to set off a shoe bomb." Now we're told that what he may have said was, "I was trying to put a cigarette out on the sole of my shoe." If that's the case, then, you know, the only violation he may have committed is the violating the federal rule on smoking on a plane. To re-emphasize here, though, no explosives were found in his shoes. Authorities say no explosives were found on the man in any other way, and no explosives were found on the plane. The bomb-sniffing dogs did go through the plane. An initial check found no explosives. I'm sure they'll take another look. But this whole situation, it's certainly easy to understand why the authorities initially responded the way he did. There was a man doing something suspicious in the bathroom. They smelled smoke. There's not supposed to be smoke. They couldn't get a clear answer out of him what he was doing. And, of course, in this day and age, they take no chances with these things. As you say, the authorities on the ground were notified. Law enforcement rushed to the scene. Fighter escorts came in for the last part of the flight, which is unusual but certainly not unprecedented. We're seeing a lot more of this. It happens, I would say, several times a month now, and has been since the Christmas Day bombing attempt when these reports come up. But the man is being questioned now, but it's sure as the minutes go by here, Rachel, looks like that he may have done nothing worse than smoking on the plane.
Pete Williams, NBC Justice correspondent, thank you for your continued reporting on this tonight. Really appreciate it, Pete.
You bet.